everybody. How are you today? So we are back, Jennifer and myself. We're going to offer you a conversation that we had just today, just on the heels of the full moon. So hopefully you're going to be able to see this on the 14th of July. It should be published. So that said, what do we really wanted to talk about? And this was real interesting how this came up. I haven't really had time to connect, nor has Jennifer, with us. We haven't really had time to connect until now. So it's been a few weeks, honestly. And it's interesting this all happened today. We actually did film it on the 13th, which the full moon was this morning. I had been feeling extremely uncomfortable over the last few days, and suddenly I realized, wow, this is the lead up to the super full moon. And as we know, as we go through the awakening in ascension journey, we become more sensitive to these energies. I think I've told you in the past that I never used to have anything happen with the full moon or the new moon. Oh no, now I do. Emotions, lots of energy, no energy, it goes on and on. So what we're talking about today is my individual unique experience, well, unique to me, experience that I am having with the energetics, how that's coming out in me and how it's been very different. So I speak to the individual perspective of that. But then what Jennifer always does is she has the collective experience. She has a very unique, I'll just say soul experience in this incarnation, where what she feels is the collective, what the collective will be going through, but she always is experiencing it in advance. And she, as you know, she speaks very cosmically, very collectively, and she actually experiences it. And then what we do together is we unravel this to help you understand further what's going on. So again, I channel, I offer a lot of information, I bring in my own unique experience, try to kind of come in on a more of a, I'll just say a ground level so you guys can really understand what we're talking about. She brings in this more, I'll just say, collective, kind of cosmic experience. And the two together are, as you may have noticed in our past conversations, are really interesting how we unfold information for you. So today you're getting another conversation with Jennifer and myself. Keep in mind, we interrupt each other regularly because guess what? This is just a conversation we're having, and then we decide, well, that might just make a good video. So anyway, we just kind of see what comes up. But I connected with her because I said, we haven't talked for a while. I said, wow, I'm really feeling it today. And you see how we start out with that, and then we start unpacking it. So really what this is about right now is what we are going through as a collective on the heels, as we've talked about, from the eclipse, basically all of 2022, coming through the eclipses, which were the stair step up. And I will always repeat this because I'm trying to help you get a summary of what's going on here. Stair step up into the solstice, which we launched off. And remember, they showed this wave, and I said, wow, this wave is just continuing through summer. And they've only really shown me, I'll just say more in detail, through August. And July was supposed to be this very volcanic kind of pressure-filled month, which I think it's definitely turning out to be. But this full moon is very much showing this, has shown this. I just wonder how many of you during these times this week have felt this, have felt different, have felt what I will say in here, pulled apart, stretched, pulled apart. But what it really is becoming expansive. And we're going to talk about that because what we are doing is we are accelerating right now. I'm just reading a few notes, but we're being pulled apart. So there's this feeling of, oh my gosh, I can't take this anymore. But then there's parts of that feels like, this is growth, this is, but what it is ultimately is this collective oneness that's starting to happen for us. And we're going to explain this. It gets a little, we talk about energetics, and there's a part in here where we get into talking about twin energy. I don't want you to misunderstand that we're going to be talking about twin flames, okay? So if you hear the word twin, don't get hung up about that. This is a different understanding of twin, okay? And so I'm experiencing that myself right now, very individually, and what I will say in many ways, I guess our journey is common, but it's also unique to us. And then what we do is we talk about the twin energy, which is a new conversation about what that means, or an additional conversation about what that means, okay? But we're talking about the expansive state that we're in. This is all about expansion, but it's also about collecting in other energies of those who we are journeying with. In other words, remember, it's about coming back into the oneness. So what we're doing is we're expanding out so then we can collect back into the oneness of ourselves and the collective. I know that sounds counter to each other, but it's not. So separation is ending. And this is the process that we are in now. And it is not comfortable, okay? Now, there are times where it feels amazing, but it's not comfortable for the most part. I really wonder, and I'd love to know in the comments how many of you have been feeling what you've been feeling. Because remember, it's all about how we're feeling. This is how we notice things. We're changing and shifting, and we're identifying what's going on by how we feel. I'm curious as to your experiences over this full moon week, super moon full week in July. So we boil it down now to a metaphor of birth, of rebirthing, essentially, is what we're doing. But we talk long and hard about this very similar process that we're going through of birthing. And I think you'll find it fascinating. So I hope you resonate with some of this. Like I always say, hopefully you'll take a couple things away for the story or the puzzle of your own journey. Again, what doesn't resonate, toss aside. Hopefully you'll take a few things away and that you enjoy the conversation that we're having today. A couple things before we get started. I just want to remind you of my services at purplerainhealing.com, where I channel for you information you want to know about. I help guide you along your life journey, your spiritual awakening journey, your ascension journey. So I offer these services to assist you, whether it be through one-on-one mentoring, through channeled messages, through spiritual awakening guidance, and as I had mentioned in the last video, I offer distance energy healing. I've added a session that actually all of a sudden became really popular. It's 30 minutes of energy healing for you without any channeling, all right? I will admit that there are a couple notes I send at the end because I can't help myself. So how that works is in advance, we connect back and forth. You tell me what you want to focus on, physical, emotional situations going on, any medical situations, or just an intention you have for yourself. And what I do is I use that information for the energy healing of 30 minutes. And what I'll do is I will send you a note ahead of time telling you I'm starting. You will relax or meditate in any way that really actually works for you during those 30 minutes. And then I will go through my process. I will then send you a note when I'm done. If there are a few words that I must share with you, I will, but there's not a channeled situation. I do offer one where I send a channeled email summary, though. So check out Distance Energy Healing and channeled messages, or just the Distance Energy Healing, because it is, honestly, I am finding now for myself, vital for us moving forward. We become more and more sensitive. And what we do is we clear your energy field, we work your chakras, we focus also on physical and emotional situations you have going on to help ease you over time. All right, so with that, I'm going to send you over to Jennifer and myself having our discussion. I hope you enjoy it. And again, thank you so much for being here today. So what I wanted to record was that I'm feeling very off. I know the full moon is tomorrow, Wednesday. I think it's 11:38 Eastern. It's a super moon, and the last 2 days, oh my God, I just want to jump out of my body, basically out of my mind. And does it feel, okay, I'm just going to ask because I know you have some things going on too. It feels to me like, okay, I just heard the word being stretched and pulled out of ourselves, in the sense of I don't know how to explain it. I feel like stretched and pulled to the point where your emotions or your feelings are so accentuated. I don't know.
I think it's an accommodation in a way. There's been some really interesting things happening in this last week and a half, 2 weeks within me. And I feel the operation on several levels. So I know that's happening, and I know it's filtering down and affecting all layers. And eventually that one major flip will be our reality in the now. But we're still feeling the effect of it happening from a higher kind of filtering in at the moment.
Okay, so let me jump in and ask a question on that then. So is what you're talking about, are you sensing that's what I'm experiencing, in other words?
Yes.
So if we use this as a video for the viewers,
Yes.
what will often happen for us is Jennifer will feel the collective and experience the collective unfoldment of it before the collective feels the unfoldment of it, which you just said the last couple of weeks, right? And that ties to what I think I'm experiencing. So go ahead. I just wanted to reframe that. And then I essentially reflect back kind of what the individual feels, because you're very unique in the sense that you feel the collective and experience the collective in very simplistic forms prior to the individuals starting to feel
Experience. Yeah, because we kind of manifest and emanate through a larger unified field of collective. So, and it's more of a field of energy before it is focused into a physical manifestation like a body. So there is a field where things are occurring as what you might think about it as the future. Or when you see it, it's like almost like foreseeing, but you're not necessarily foreseeing, except that you know that it's on its way to you. And it is. I
just heard the words gelling, like it gels. Does that make sense? Like
yes, it gels with the other. And a lot of times when I say higher, I don't mean better than, higher up, better frequency, heaven and hell. I don't mean that. Higher to me means the future, because I see things in a spiral. Okay,
that's good to know.
So higher to me is just foreseeing the future, or that is what's coming, and even lower a lot of times just means the past. Okay.
Good to know.
So in the way that I kind of feel the setup, because frankly, the way that we are here, that we exist, I don't necessarily see us as like lower than God or higher than this or hierarchy pyramidal. It's more of we kind of are emanating from a center point out. So I say higher, lower, it really it's our perception of time, the more than anything is what that means to me. But the energy that I feel like we're expanding out, and let me explain some of the stuff that's been going on.
That's that thing I feel that's like stretching.
Yes, because integration of our being at its most expanded format, includes the integration of all energies that exist, right? So as we expand to include more of what is, a lot more information it can be felt like chaos coming into your field because you're not used to having so much there, right?
Yes, I just heard uncomfortable and discomfort of energy when you were talking about that coming in.
Yes, and you have to imagine there's a lot of things going on, and this kind of ties back to CERN and some of the things that people think are going on at CERN. Some of these energies that we have built in our mind to be demonic, satanic, negative, things that we feel like need to be captured and trapped away. We're kind of in fear of, because they are so powerful and they seem to be so dark at the same time. So we have this like, oh my goodness, kind of reaction to them. Now, all energies have an origin, and all energies, whatever state they find themselves in now or frequency, it has a story. And that story will tell you how they came from perfection, which we all came from, and ended up into what we perceive as evil or demonic. Now, some of the issues with CERN right now, some people are afraid if they open CERN, they let this thing out, it's full of demons. Demons are going to pour into our field, and we're all going to be like screwed with the.
Just like Stranger Things, like the show Stranger Things.
That's right. And when you start to remember, integration is everything. And even these energies that we feel have had that have this negative effect, or that are harming us, or the evil are doing, they came from perfection just like we did, right? So right now, like that's kind of some of the stuff that I do. I find out what the origin energy or how that happened, and we work it until we can get it to a point where it can reintegrate, right? So us expanding to include more of the totality of our infinite being in full integration, which integration is just another word for love. Okay. Full integration is love. It can be uncomfortable because we are integrating some of these huge energies because they are us, right?
Yes, exactly. And you know what? It's so weird you're talking about this. This is what I'm going through right now. I'm going, I know, I just talked about this with my crew before we got on, and they said, no, you're integrating that energy into you. So what I'm feeling extreme emotion, like I can't not feel it. It's really odd these last day or two. They're like, this is different. It's like an integration, and that we're integrating kind of into that oneness, that wholeness of self. And so like I'm reclaiming a huge part of myself, per your point of reclaiming the energies that we typically think aren't benevolent.
Yes, yes.
Does that resonate?
Yes, totally. Because, you know, one of the things that I've been saying very often and trying, like I'm having conversations with my team. I have some with individuals in body, but most of my conversation throughout my day or my work is with non-physical beings working with me. Okay. But what I'm basically saying is a lot of times exactly what you're saying. It's in the human experience. A lot of the energies that are coming to us now feel like nails on a chalkboard or being drugged through glass, because a lot of times I see myself kind of like as a harp, and I've got all of these frequencies in me. And I recognize the plucking of strings individually or doing them all together. I recognize it. So sometimes when an energy meets me, it's almost like plucking a string that I'm familiar with, right? So no matter what that is, and there could be so many of them, but I know when I feel them, that's me, right? That's part of my heart. This other stuff doesn't feel like that. It feels like someone's just dumped glass into me. And I'm like, what is this? This is not supposed to be in me. I don't know, what is this energy?
Right.
So that is part of this expanding out to be more, because the harp in a lot of ways is my comfort that I got in being the multidimensional self that I am within my human.
Yes.
Okay. And it's the comfort of being me, even if I've expanded myself out within my human to encompass more, there's so much more beyond that, right?
Yes. And what I'm going through is more of a microcosm of that, in a sense, in this journey I'm on. Of what I'm sensing is, because I'm feeling it right here in my heart, in this great like love, but agony and pain and suffering. It can't be with, or can't be with that great like unconditional love. You know what I'm saying? And so So one thing I wanted to share real quick, what they're saying as you were talking, they said, when you're talking about those different energies and in incorporating them into us, they're saying the moons, the new moons and the full moons are platforms for these events and for these energies. So what they're saying, and again, we can unpack this, they're saying being served up on a platter. So they showed it to me. They showed like the full moon or the new moon, like these are opportunities for these energies to go, okay, here, or take it in, or the moons have something to do with what you're talking about and what we're discussing here. Are you getting anything on that? I'm getting like a platter, like the moon is the phases of the moon is an energetic like platter, is a platter, a time frame that allows these energies to be introduced to us. Does that make any sense to you? I know that sounds trippy.
It sounds perfectly, organized. I'm not sure, but I think that the moon energy, yes, I think it has, it's kind of the
up with what you just said.
Charge.
Yeah, with coming into bringing all the energies back into us. We're one, we're all one. And there's something, they brought that in for a reason. I don't know if that.
I'm wondering that I think of the moon as feminine, but what you're saying about, there is something about the masculine collective that is doing a ton of this work with the very thing I was talking about earlier, these massive, huge God energies that were inverted. Basically, this is what kind of happened with the CERN or situation. They got inverted and trapped underneath something. Okay. So they got kind of turned into this distorted upside down version
It's upside down. Is what they've talked about before, the upside down. Mm-hmm.
And then they got trapped in there, right? So that perpetuated. The masculine, now that's not void of the feminine energy, but it's primarily a masculine energy, and the masculines have kind of decided to handle it. Right. So a lot of our masculines are struggling right now to handle that. Okay.
Is it even just masculine twins? Is it the masculine?
It's the masculine in general, but most masculines have a twin. Okay. So even though there are energies of omnipresence that are already in completely integrated, they don't have a double. They're one already that are helping with the situation too. But a lot of times right now the masculine twin is like elbow deep in this energy right now. So if you pick up on your masculine twin, you might be feeling a lot of this agony, love, like deep, desperate love, his feminine agony at the same time, and like wanting to be there but not wanting to get this energy too close to her, and like being in, it's an agonizing kind of desperately longing energy. Okay. But it's incredibly powerful too.
How's that affecting us in general?
Well, we're all feeling it, because even in twin is just the original separation. So even those that are in union will still feel the energy of the twins, because it's still part of the one, right? So it's not absent in anybody's field. Everybody is feeling it together. A twin flame is primarily just an energy that got split in half.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not saying that every being that is walking the planet now experienced the split.
Right, because here's the problem. What I don't want to have people think is they need to go run around and look for their twin flame.
No.
But that's what a lot of people think, and that's how that twin flame thing is started.
But they're not. It's not like anybody's being left out of anything. It is an experience that a group had of being split. An energy being had the experience of being split in half. Now, that energetic, those are considered twins. Okay.
Yes.
Twin flames. Okay. So that energy is still part of one. Yes. Right. So even those who didn't necessarily personally, intimately experiencing the split, maybe in an embodiment or something, they still feel the energetic, because we're all one. Yes, right.
I got it. Okay. So, I just wanted to make sure what we were talking about there made sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it caused a lot of things like feeling separate from your love, feeling separate from your masculine or feminine, feeling separate. So there's a lot of emotion around it. There's a lot of things going on there. They don't want to be separate, right?
And what I think I want to point out is when you talk about being separate from your masculine or feminine, what we're talking about here is not your human boyfriend, girlfriend, partner that you're looking for, searching for, hoping you find. We're talking about within ourselves.
Yes.
Missing of the masculine, feminine twin part. Some of us have these relationships where we have in human form a twin out there, but we're talking about individual energies of that are actually collective. Thank you. Okay. I just want to make sure everybody gets that. So let's go back to where we started.
It's okay.
But I think what we're talking about with these energetic things that I'm feeling in the last 2 days, the full moon coming up, what you just said, we can bring it back to a collective situation that's going on right now. And I'd love to explain that.
That is it. Right now, we're in an expansion phase.
That's not pulling apart. That's what I'm feeling.
Yes. So we're expanding in order to allow for more integration. Some of the energies may not feel super familiar to you. Like sometimes I'll think, this energy feels really strange. I'm embodied here as kind of like a soccer mom. What in the world's going on, right? So a lot of these energies now may feel like you've expanded well beyond your human role or persona.
I just got something that ties to this that I think will help understand. Okay, so what I'm getting is, because you know me, I always go back to kind of what's happening in the 3D. So what I'm getting is the discomfort, clearly what I'm feeling, that I think other people are going to recognize in these last few days and these next few days, is what you just said, which is that integration of, I'm getting unfamiliar energies because, okay, so I'm going to keep going. So I'm trying to explain what they're showing me.
Yes.
Integration of unfamiliar energies, because it's like, and I'm going to just use a very on the ground example, like integrating my neighbor's energies or my cross or my neighborhood or my communities, like the energy, like we're becoming that oneness. So we have to, what they're showing is our boundaries energetically have to grow and expand, to your point, right? But then when we do, okay, it's like those circles in geometry. You know how they draw circles and then there's the ones they overlap. I forget what that's called. You know, where they have
flower of life. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Like this, and they overlay, and the part that's the overlay in here is expanding further. Okay, so that they're starting to, instead of two separate, now we're coming together, and I'm talking collective energy. So, like for example, I'm taking in more, when I say taking, integrating more energy into from the oneness of like my neighborhood, and I'm using this as an example of my community, the larger collective, and it feels uncomfortable. And it doesn't mean, I'm not talking about like in your auric field kind of energy, like, oh, I felt somebody's energy and I didn't want to be there. This is different. It's a collective oneness. Does that make sense to you?
It totally does. Yes.
Okay. So what we're feeling is they keep showing me those circles, the two circles in geometry where they overlap, and then it turns like an eclipse. You know how it looks like an eclipse? And that part's growing and growing and growing because we're integrating further and further with each other. Plus what they're trying to show me is that will eventually be reflected in the collective manifestations and the things that we actually notice on the ground. Does that make sense to you?
It does. And oh my God, there's so much to that I could tell you right now. All right. That what you were showing, that center point of the two coming together is kind of like a divine union. It would be like a masculine, feminine, actually, not to get graphic on y'all, but that in the center is actually the representation of like, they call yoni, or it's a birthing canal.
Yeah.
Okay? So those two coming together are actually eventually going to birth a third circle. So there'll be three. So that is the expanding, you might think of as dilating for birth. Okay.
I just heard the rebirth.
The rebirth. Yes.
Into the oneness. Oh my gosh. Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. So those two basically becoming one through the birth canal there into a third one. So
in drawing that, because I want to make this simple for people. Okay, so we have this. Can we all see this?
Yes.
See that? That's what I was talking about. Okay, so your third circle is
the one in the center is representation of basically a birth canal of a woman's anatomy. Okay. And that is the birthing through that will be a third. Now, if you put a third one at the bottom, that's the Trinity. Okay.
Okay, hold on, because I want to show this, so what we're showing is, first of all, this is what's happening now. And those circles are becoming more and more, I will just say, overlaying each other. This is how we're growing, right?
So the centerpiece is expanding like you dilate for birth.
Yep. Okay. And so out of that, oh, you know what? Okay, here's how I'm showing this. What they're showing me is, to explain this, is this then, these overlay each other more, right?
Yes.
And then that essentially they become the oneness, but birthed out of that, if you look at it as how we've drawn it, it's actually created a third circle. Hold on, let me show you. Because I want to represent this for people.
Right.
Assuming I can find a piece of paper. Okay, so then what we have, okay, so this is not really great, but what it's showing is, so then we've taken, so there's your third. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the third has grown. And that is what then it's to your point, the birthing of it, but basically it births into the one. Does that make sense? So to your point, you could draw it this way too, where you
could draw it as a representation. It's a little lower than the two. Yes. But it's the same thing. Yes.
Yeah, because that really actually represents what's happening. It's the birthing of that, but you could show it in the other way where basically the two become the one because they've overlaid so much. That's what's happening right now, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
that's why we feel, that's why maybe
Right.
I was supposed to feel this way so we could do this video.
You're in labor.
It's
That's
awful.
why you're uncomfortable.
The last 2 days I had felt like I pulled apart, but I also feel like I'm missing love. But mine's showing up as this deep longing like I've never had, in this ache and pain. But it's this coming into the oneness of ourselves and with the collective energies.
Yes.
And that's why we feel stretched, like we're stretched on a board. They're showing me that. Like,
Yes, we're stretched.
At the same time, they're showing stretched on one of those awful boards, those torture boards, but also that your heart is expanding. Like as that's happening, your heart's expanding, and it's so painful because it hurts, but it feels good, and it's so sad, and you want more, but you want,
that you're funny because, and I can't say just because I'm a mom because I had a C-section, but you're basically describing labor.
Oh, and I've never done it. So
yeah.
Really?
So there you go. Yes.
Oh my God.
That's what labor feels like.
That's what
you're anticipating
going through.
You're anticipating when you have a baby in the womb, you're anticipating the love for your baby. You're also going through the most incredible pain you've ever been in through labor. And so it is the longing for them to be here, but going through the pain in the process, and you feel separated from them until they arrive. It's the same thing. Everything you're talking about is the same thing you're doing in labor.
No wonder they said
by the way.
rebirthing. They said rebirthing, right?
Yes.
So we're coming back into our oneness. Oh my God, we're rebirthing into the oneness, and these pictures make so much sense. And this whole conversation does. It's really our twin energy.
Yeah,
it's
it
our
is.
other.
It doesn't necessarily have to mean romantic. It could mean just reunion with your source.
Yes.
It could be all kinds of different ways. It's just whatever way you can allow yourself to try to understand it is the way you need to. So it's okay, but it's the same thing. It's reuniting as one. Yes.
Totally. And that's the thing. That's why the idea of, and I just go back to the twin flame thing, where some people think, well, oh God, they get to be a twin flame and I don't, kind of thing, or they have it's not, that's just a different representation of the same energy that we each have of the two into the one. So
that's right.
And honestly, it's about finding that other half of you, in essence, finding the other half of you that we've essentially not fully developed to one degree or another in each of us. And then what happens in this awakening journey is we find that other part of us, that's that whole self-discovery, the work that we do, the feminine, masculine balance, all that stuff. And then that's where that great love shows up. That unconditional love shows up. So it's kind of that twin journey without the physical person. Do you know what I mean? We're all going through it.
It is. And I'm having more of I'm doing it internally. So I'm having more of an internal angst that I'm dealing with within, but I can feel it the same way you are. So I'm having all the same things you are. It's more of energetic for me, but it's the same thing. You're feeling it. It's the same emotions, all of the same things that you're feeling.
We're feeling the same thing, or we have to deal with it as the individual us or with another person. And exactly. Well, this is really good to understand, because this is the energy we're in now. If you recall, God, we were meant to do this today, because as I brought through basically for June, we're on this wave after the solstice, like this wave of energy that the solstice, like we worked up to the solstice. And they said, we're on this through August. Like they only showed me through really kind of August. We're on this. But the thing is, what this wave is doing, think about this. Okay, so this is so cool. And I said, a wave, I remember thinking a wave that continues, like the wave continues through August. But what they kept showing was this wave, like doing this, that's stretching. Think about that. That's that.
Well, okay. Have you ever seen, this is so funny because all of this is attached to, have you ever seen the thing they put on the stomach of a woman in labor to watch her labor? They look like waves on an ocean. Contractions look like waves. Wave one.
Okay. So that's wild. That aligns. That aligns with the wave they showed, because I kept thinking, well, it's just a wave that sits there. They're like, no, it's moving, but it's doing this. And because it was overarching from May through August, and it's like stretching out into this. Oh.
So it's interesting. You could put it all of this into the metaphor of giving birth, because it
Totally.
is, as the baby grows, your body stretches to accommodate more. And when you go in labor, your body, it's a wave upon wave that builds the strength of your labor pain so you can give birth. So it is like birthing, and
Okay, let me
it
ask you this.
feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
So let me ask you this, not having had that experience, the thing that's driving me the craziest these last 2 days is, do you have times when you're pregnant, or do some people, I don't know, where it's like, oh, get this out of me, but I feel so much. There's so much, like, oh, I want to leave my body. I want to get out of this. I want to be gone from this.
Totally does. Yes.
But I feel so much, like I feel so much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, who are you talking to? I feel everything. My pregnancy was crazy business. So yes, it is.
And you can't escape it. So,
well, it's strange in a way, because like when you're, a lot of people may have felt, some people, they love being pregnant. They're so in love with but for most of us, I think we have this thing, like there's something else in my body.
yeah.
Sometimes you have like that feeling, and then it's almost like, my body like almost got overtaken by something, a process that's happening, and that it's happening whether I want it to or not. It's almost like my body's not my own anymore. It's making a baby. Right. I don't matter, right? It's going to happen whether I want it or not.
Right.
So it's this weird thing of emotions that you go through, because you're not because you're sharing your body with something now, right? It's a baby there, right? So it is an introduction of energy, and I don't think it's strange at all to go through things like, I've got this thing in my body, and sometimes it moves around and I'm like, whoa. So it's like being two in one in separation. So you're not the same. It's different. It's there, it's moving, and it's not moving, and it's very, very bizarre. It can be amazing and beautiful, but it's a little mind bendy, right? To have a baby growing in your body like this. So that's kind of what we're feeling now, right? This is ours. It's our energy. It's our baby, but it's like I'm sharing this space with I'm having to accommodate all this new.
You know what they're showing me? Yeah, and we alluded to this in the circle drawing, but what they're showing me as you're talking is like the 9 months of a human pregnancy. They're showing the collective and what we're going through now, and this growing, the circle, growing, encompassing more and more of the collective. Oh, they just said unified field, unified energy, the oneness energy coming back in. So, they're talking about, I'm just going to go here for a second. They're talking about, how I said earlier that then out of that, okay, they're talking more like a collective mind of love and oneness, though. Okay, more like a collective mind, like there's, and it also is going to influence the awakening. Whoa, I have a lot of chills on that. And so the collective mind, and then what happens in that is that unconditional love starts. This is all through like the awakening process too, but this, it envelopes, it's like a tidal wave. They just said it's like this tidal wave that comes over everybody, even if you're not consciously awakening. This wave, this growth, this birth, right? This growing child in you, right? But it's the collective. And then what they're talking about is then this just ties to birth. Then the manifestations come down the road. Manifestation, 9 months later, you got a baby. I mean, it's the same thing is what they're showing. So I guess what I would say is this is a great metaphor for the awakening journey.
Yes.
I mean, and so they're very much showing expansive mind, collective mind, but it's not collective robotic mind kind of thing. Not that. They're talking love mind, conditional.
That's the thing, right? Even right now. So we're expanding to include everything. And so we're doing a process that is not only integration of just our stuff, it's our stuff that got into all kinds of stuff that we're not necessarily going to want. So we're doing a collecting of our expanding and collecting and integrating of our energy, but we're also synthesizing out things like maybe artificial, or like I call it aftermarket crap to my team, anything that's not the highest potential, the original blueprint kind of thing. We're siphoning that stuff out. So some of our parts that have gotten themselves into, say, I forget what they call that thing, like the cube, collective mind, the hive mind, kind of some of the lock-in matrices and all this baloney. We're still getting that, our essence out, and we're still integrating that stuff. But we're just, as we're integrating it, we're sifting out what we don't. And so just the essence is coming back in, but we're feeling some of it in the periphery as it comes back in, and we're getting, okay, then we're not getting that, and it's going, so it's a purification process as it's coming back into as we're expanding out. So we're getting a lot of super diverse, like touching all the edges of all the things that we have gone out and gotten our fingers into all over the place.
Yep.
And we're bringing them back in. So we're feeling these little weird things. They might stick around. They may not stick around too long, because once they kind of come back into that field of energy, that is that integration, those start to, they start to compare to, okay, I'm my blueprint. That doesn't go with the blueprint. So we're keeping what is and transmuting what isn't. Part of that, but that you feel it on the periphery. Sometimes not. That's sometimes the discomfort or the strange energy. Like, what is that? That doesn't feel like it quite goes.
Yep.
That's going to happen too. But it usually comes out pretty fast. It usually transmutes out pretty quickly.
What this also ties to, they're showing, and this sounds like it's counter to each other, although it's not. You know how they always show the new earth, old earth, for me, of the cells dividing, and there's that bridge in between, like old earth energy, new earth, and it's growing, and this is stretching, right? Through like the cell dividing. Okay, so now they're bringing that back into what we just talked about, that visual of the birthing process. Oh, how are they tying that together? They're saying they're basically one and the same.
Because they're both happening at the same time. Okay, so if you look at it like the cells dividing, that would be the baby growing, right? And so the cells dividing, they divided it, but there is a part of the, that's the part that's maybe not in alignment or matching to what we're going to keep, for instance.
Right.
Okay. But they're dividing. So as the two are coming together and creating, they're bringing the things together. Those things are transforming into the baby, right? The cells are dividing, but some of the old is coming on. Some of the stuff that we don't necessarily want is also being corrected, alchemized, transformed into the rebirth. I don't know how else to explain that.
No, you're exactly right. That's exactly it. And collectively, they keep showing me how we are really, they just said accelerating this right now so fast. So I'm going to say right now, if people are feeling super discomfort, like emotional stuff, like extreme, like you can't get rid of it, you can't take care of it, you can't. One thing I will say, get yourself out in nature. It's one of the biggest ways to be able to handle this. It's huge. Take a walk. If nothing else, get out of your circumstances you're in at home. Like me, I'm in this house 90% of my day, right? Get out, do a walk, do something different. But the thing is, it feels like we're going through really extreme energetic times, because they're talking about the acceleration of this into this drawing of, and this conversation we're having, into this overlay of creating this oneness. I don't know what that looks like as we come out of it, but the point is that's what we're going through right now. That's what we're going through.
Okay, so with that being said, there's two things that you said about nature. There is everything that we need to integrate. There is exists around us in nature. So nature is like this. Nature's the best medicine. Get out in nature. It's all these things that they always say to us. Oh, that sounds good. We actually don't understand, most of us, the profound truth that's behind that. Literally, everything you need to be your most vital, healthy, and highest potential being exists in nature. So you literally go lay on the ground and touch the rocks. You're providing that for yourself through nature. Okay. It's not just a fluffy saying. It actually literally happens.
Yes.
So as I'm working more on an energetic plane, which would be in our perceptual understanding here, more of like our future plane.
Yeah.
There's been some massive massive, these like the cell dividing, the, let's getting things put back in the right order. Where they've been using the term a lot that, that was a game changer. And I'm hearing that multiple times in a day as we're going through this, making these adjustments. We're doing it quickly and they're massive. And so they're using that word game changer. That was a game changer. Oh my God, that was a game changer. That I've heard that multiple times, probably at least half a dozen or a dozen times in the last week, just with the energetic work that we're doing.
What I was going to say is, as you're talking, I'm getting a visual. They're talking about reconstruction. And then all of a sudden, this is coming back. I think we talked about this one time where I got this picture of this new grid. And what we might call a matrix. It's a the golden light one. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what are we talking about?
That, I think that might be the original. Yes. Okay. So there were several things. These are things that are maybe coming back.
Yeah.
Or that look like they might look new, but they're not actually new.
No,
they're ones
not new.
At some point lost sight of somehow. And they're coming back to us now. But yes, those are some of the huge game changer things. It's like, oh my God, we found that.
You know what? They just said, because you're saying it right now, I think about what you're saying, because we were in the upside down. It was there. It was covered. It was covered. And so now it's.
Yes, it was flipped upside down. Something sat on top of it that was covered or cloaked. So it not only did it disappear and we couldn't find it, kind of, okay, if you want to put it into like metaphor, it flipped upside down, and then it was something sat on top of it that held it in an inversion so it couldn't flip itself back up, like a turtle on its back. Okay. And then something sat on top of it and held it that way. And that thing that sat on top had a cloak over the top of it.
Yes.
So nobody could find it. It was an inversion and nobody could see it, and it couldn't flip itself back on its own feet because this thing had sat on it.
And so I just heard it never died. It never died.
No, everybody,
because it can't.
It cannot die. So it was alive and there and the whole time. And they moved on eventually, maybe after looking for it for a while or not. I'm not sure. I got a big yes on that. But they kind of decided, even like, we can't find it, we need to go to plan B. And they left it. It was there the whole time, right there. Yeah. Nobody could see it because of this kind of dumbass that sat on it with the thing on them. Okay.
Right.
So now that's kind of what I'm saying is found this dum, got the cover off them, got them off and flipped it backside up. And everybody's like, holy moly.
Yes.
And then they say, those are the game changers that we're finding. We're finding these huge things that we thought were gone forever, that were part of our original origin, that were part of our birthright, that were the original plan to be here, a heaven on earth, basically. These original template design things are being found. Yeah. They weren't gone, right? They weren't gone at all. They were unseen. Yes. And so they're being found and flipped upside down, and they're right there, or flipped up back on their head, back, yes, totally. Right side up, I should say. It's going to accelerate quickly from this point forward, because some of these things in galactic or cosmic time would be eons ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So what I want to do right now is bring this back down to the ground to say, well, no, seriously, because this is happening now. And so what we're going to feel, I want to kind of get that, what we're going to sense, what we potentially will have happen, and what we can do, individuals can do to help themselves. So I'm just going to kind of go, and then you can add into this. So, okay, I just heard the word stretching. The stretching, okay, they just said beyond your limits of what you feel and a lot of it's emotion. It's going to be like a lot of it is emotion and stretching to the emotion, and yet you can't really make the anything happen. How do I want to explain this? Like it's like a longing for, a wishing to reconnect, but you don't really know. It's not like there's a person that you can go reconnect. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a natural process is what I'm getting of this reconnection within ourselves and within the collective. And it's a stretching feeling, and whatever that means for each individual, of emotion, of feeling, of sense, of time, of everything that could be stretched. I know this sounds trippy.
No, it's true.
You feel like it's stretched like you're stretched to your limit, you're stretched to whatever that could mean. Does that resonate with you?
It is, yes, because it is going from the massively constricted state into the expanded infinite. So you think about what that means. It is to your breaking point, stretching, okay?
Yep.
Because we're infinite.
Yep.
So it's like this tight ball of rubber bands. You know how they make rubber band balls?
Like we've become,
yes.
Right?
Being full-blown starbursts, right?
Totally. And it's not going to feel great. Oh God, this summer sounds really, these next 2 months, at least 2 months is what I'm getting.
So let me help you with that idea too. I'm sorry, go ahead, finish what you're saying.
No. That's what I was going to say and then I want to get into what people can do to assist themselves in this journey. So go ahead.
So you said the summer is probably going to be like this. So during the summer months or any of this that you're feeling,
yes,
there's always tried and true. In is your bet. When you go in, that is when you connect to the unified field, the collective field, so to speak. And so in the body, okay, we have our, experiences in the body. If you're feeling a lot of overwhelming emotion, a lot of pain or discomfort or anything, or you just want to be more in the flow, imagine yourself going into your own body and connecting through your emanation. Okay, uses your source energy coming in through your body. Go in to your emanation, your own source energy, connect to everybody through that. Even if you're talking to them here, say, okay, you want to connect with another person, just imagine yourself going in and connecting to that other person where they are themselves in and connected as one in that spot too. Try to start connecting to other people in a unified state. That's where they're there too. Instead of face-to-face here, try to start doing it that way. It will speed up and make your integration much smoother.
So, okay, let's just unpack that a little bit. When you say go inward and feel others, like what is that, like getting a sense of feeling a collective energy, or how does that, because it's hard for people lots of times to take what, that kind of thing and turn, we try to think of it literally. Well, I'll connect day to day with more people. That's not what we're talking about. No. So this is what I mean by that. So even on an individual basis, when you're sitting there talking to a friend or your husband, their energy signature frequency is specific. But a lot of times we connect straight in like this. Yeah. Where you can connect and have your conversation, but direct your energy to connect to their energy here in the unified, where you are still exclusively, or your own frequency, but more in a field that is unified. Yep. Try to start converse from here, but just think your energy there. Okay. That's a really good way to do it. Yeah, just think. And we all have conversations every day. So if we can, and you can do it in an instant, and at some point you'll stop doing it, and that'll be the way you connect to everybody. And that will help you go from I'm feeling it all right here, and I feel like I'm dealing with so much here too. You'll still feel. Yes. But the integration will be, you are connected into the unified field where everybody is all the time anyway, and it will help your integration go much more smooth. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're saying to me, is that's where you start getting the fluidity they just said, and not the feeling like all that's tied inside yourself and you're having to, they're talking about having to deal with it on your own. Yes. Because that way you're actually, they said part of the greater soup. You know what I mean? Like you're diluted, it's diluted. So it's not as extreme inside of you. Like, they're so funny. They're giving two different kinds of soup, like soup that's overly spiced and strong, and it's just too hot. And and that's what we are individually. But we go into the unified field, we dilute out that energy that we're dealing with. Oh my gosh, this is so interesting. And a lot of the other energies that you might be feeling come into your body, and you're like, that feels like, being drugged through glass, or somebody's doing the equal and opposite integrated
or energy that is needed for integration,
Yeah.
it can be found in the unified field too. So it can help you integrate that energy that's hitting you too.
Yeah.
So instead of going, oh my God, and contracting and trying to deal with it, you might give yourself a stomach ache or a headache.
That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing.
Push your energy out and you attach to this and say, okay, now I'm drawing from a larger soup of
Yes.
equal and opposite energies. It's going to help integrate this energy I'm feeling, so more is available to me, right?
And one thing I want to
smooth it out.
Right. One thing I want to mention is some people might be like, well, how do you find the unified field? It's imagination. Just imagine what it looks like, feel it, create your own unified field of that visual. And again, this goes back to, this is why this journey is so important, to spend quiet time alone, to have some balance in your day, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do these kinds of things that will actually assist you in this journey that we're in collectively right now, like that is massively expanding. And
yes.
quickly I'm getting quickly.
If you're like me and you like to identify things, you like to know what everything feels like. My team's always laughing at me. Ask, what did that feel like? What did that, oh my God, that's her, I like to know what it feels. So you can do things, just ask, say, I want to feel the frequency or energy of the unified field.
Well, there you go. That's good.
And there it is, right? It's right there, right? Sitting right on, lays over your back, a warm sweater.
I love that idea.
I want to connect now. I want to go in through me and connect to the unified field.
Yes.
You can feel it happening. Yes. You just act it and it does it.
You just
following your instructions.
And the key is you've got to take the time to do it in a space that is not chaotic. I mean, you're being able to do that for yourself. So there you go. Thank you so much today for joining me. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation that Jennifer and I had and took something away for your own journey. Again, reminder, purplerainhealing.com, where you can work with me one-on-one and mentoring for over a period of time if you like, or you can have single sessions of spiritual awakening guidance or channeled messages. And also there's distance energy healing, which helps keep your field clear, also working on physical and emotional situations that you have going on that you would like some assistance with. So again, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.